Good afternoon, everyone. Dr. Dan G. Hill, historian by Rella Braithwaite. My husband and I had the pleasure of meeting Dan Hill during the early 1970s at an exhibit of African artifacts. I remember Daniel was so proud of his collection of historical books, crafts, and photos, and some of the materials had to be handled very carefully. It was a time of Black cultural awareness in the Black community, and this great scholar, Dr. Dan Hill, with a PhD in sociology, became known as a brilliant Black historian. He was soon invited to speak at educational institutions and various Black history functions. I had become interested in researching and writing Black history as I was anxious for our Black youth to learn and be proud about their heritage. While giving a presentation one evening at a Scarborough library on early Black women in journalism, I was surprised to see Dr. Dan Hill in the audience. I was in shock and thought I should have done more research. I'm not exactly really qualified for this topic. However, before he left, he shook my hand and he said my talk was quite interesting. Dan Hill was serious about forming a group of members who were interested in the research and study of Canadian Black history, and his wife Donna, along with Wilson Brooks and other activists, founded the Ontario Black History Society in 1978. Daniel served as a president. The group determined the skills needed and began to recruit potential members, and I later joined the executive. Greater efforts were made to preserve the history of the Blacks in Canada as Blacks became aware of the importance of valuable documents and personal history collections. The Society became very active, and Daniel addressed a Black History Conference sponsored by Contrast Publications, the University of Toronto, and the Multicultural History in 1978. In 1980, former Toronto Mayor Eggleton supported Daniel in a major exhibit at the St. Lawrence Market, which was well attended. Daniel Hill found few publications were available on the history of Blacks in Canada, and following a great deal of research and support from Donna and historians, he was able to write a scholarly study of Canadian Blacks in Canada in 1981. The book, entitled Freedom Seekers, Early Black Canadians, soon became popular in schools, libraries, and family bookshelves. I found the book a great source of knowledge as it covered so many areas of Canadian Black history. In 1983, I felt very honored when Daniel Hill invited me to chair the Black History Society, as he had been appointed to be Ontario Ombudsman. I felt compelled to accept the position as I respected the work in which the Black History Society was involved. And I was aware of the work that they had accomplished since 1978. I was fortunate to have educator Paul Anderson share the position with me, and Daniel Hill remained involved and was honorary president. The late Professor George Bancroft was a friend of Daniel Hill's since 1960, when they both graduated from the University of Toronto with doctorates. Bancroft would often say Daniel was a very humble man. I would like to say I found Daniel Hill to be a fine person who was not only the first director of the Ontario Human Rights, but he definitely believed in fairness. We owe a debt of gratitude to the late Dan Hill. Daniel had experienced segregation and racism, and he came to Canada seeking freedom and opportunities. He believed it to be of crucial importance for us to protect the legacy of our forebears. Daniel Hill was a man who made a difference. Thank you.